The house was shrouded in darkness as a chilling silence engulfed every corner. John, the owner, lay in his bed, bathed in an uneasy sleep. It was a stormy night, rain pelting against the windows, creating an eerie symphony that echoed through the empty halls. Suddenly, a strange sound emanated from the depths of the house, slicing through the tranquility like a knife. John's eyes snapped open, his heart pounding in his chest. "What was that?" he muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the storm. Fear gripped his soul as he realized he was alone in the house that night. The sound, like a sinister whisper, seemed to originate from the basement. Each creaking footstep and unexplained noise clawed at his nerves, urging him to investigate. But his mind was paralyzed with terror. John lay there, his body drenched in a cold sweat, the relentless sound from the basement penetrating his very being. With every passing second, the noise grew louder, more malevolent. The storm outside raged on, as if the heavens themselves were trying to warn him of the impending danger that lurked within the house. Summoning every ounce of courage, John swung his legs over the side of the bed. He cautiously rose, his heart pounding in his ears, and tiptoed towards the bedroom door. The floorboards beneath his feet groaned in protest, as if warning him to retreat. Ignoring the unnerving protest, he crept through the dimly lit hallway towards the sinister call from below. Reaching the top of the stairs leading down to the basement, John hesitated. The air grew thick with an otherworldly presence, suffocating his senses. The once familiar house now seemed like an unexplored realm of terror. As he descended the staircase, the sound grew more distinct, a symphony of whispers and scratching that echoed through the abyss. The dim glow of a single flickering bulb illuminated the basement, casting grotesque shadows across the walls. The putrid scent of decay mingled with the dampness of the air, assaulting his nostrils. John's breath grew shallow as he reached the bottom step, his eyes scanning the murky depths for any signs of the intruder. Then, he saw it, a fleeting glimpse of movement from the corner of his eye. Panic surged through his veins as he turned his head, but there was nothing there. Just an empty room, cluttered with forgotten belongings and forgotten dreams. Or so it seemed. Feeling a sudden chill, John slowly turned his gaze towards the back of the room. His heart stopped. There, in the farthest corner, stood a figure. The darkness clung to it like a second skin, obscuring its features, but its presence was suffocating, overwhelming. It stood perfectly still, as if observing him, its eyes hidden beneath the abyss. John's mind screamed at him to run, to flee from this unholy encounter, but his body remained rooted to the spot, paralyzed by the sheer terror that emanated from the being before him. The whispers grew louder, the symphony of malevolence echoing through the basement, intertwining with the storm outside. With a sudden burst of movement, the figure lunged towards John, its limbs contorted in unnatural angles. A blood-curdling shriek pierced the air as time seemed to slow down. But in that frozen moment, John found a sliver of strength within himself. Adrenaline surged through his veins, his fight-or-flight response kicking into overdrive. He turned on his heel, propelled by sheer survival instinct, and raced up the stairs, the sound of the entity's pursuit echoing in his ears. He stumbled through the hallway, his heart pounding in his chest, desperately searching for a way to escape the clutches of the supernatural presence. The house seemed to conspire against him, its once familiar layout now transformed into a labyrinth of horrors. As he reached the front door, his trembling hand grasped the doorknob, only to find it locked from the inside. Panic surged through him like a tidal wave, threatening to consume his every thought. He fumbled for his phone, praying for a sliver of reception, but to no avail. The world outside remained oblivious to his plight. Trapped within the suffocating embrace of the haunted house, John's mind raced, searching for a solution. A glimmer of hope ignited within him as he remembered the small window in the kitchen. It was his only chance for escape. With renewed determination, he sprinted toward the kitchen, his footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Arriving in the kitchen, he felt a surge of relief mixed with dread as he saw the small window. It was his lifeline, his path to freedom. As he approached, however, a deep sense of foreboding settled over him. The room was cloaked in an unnatural stillness, as if the air itself held its breath. Summoning his courage, John pried open the window, his heart pounding in his throat. But just as he was about to squeeze through the narrow opening, a frigid gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the flickering candle on the countertop. Darkness engulfed him, shrouding his vision in a veil of blackness. In the pitch-black void, John's senses heightened, his every nerve on edge. A soft, sinister chuckle resonated from behind, causing his blood to run cold. He spun around, searching desperately for any sign of his pursuer, but there was nothing, only an oppressive darkness that seemed to devour his sanity. Fear and desperation coursed through his veins, urging him to abandon all reason and make a reckless escape. With trembling hands, he fumbled for his lighter, his last source of light in the abyss. As the flame flickered to life, the truth was revealed, and John's heart nearly stopped. Standing before him was the figure, its inky silhouette now illuminated by the dim light. Its eyes, filled with a malevolence that pierced his very soul, stared directly into his being. The whispers grew louder, intertwining with his thoughts, suffocating him with their sinister presence. In a final act of defiance, John mustered all his strength and threw the lighter at the specter, hoping to disrupt its hold on him. The flame collided with the figure, and for a moment, time stood still. The room erupted into a blinding inferno, the flames devouring everything in their path. As the fire raged, consuming the house that had become a prison of darkness, John found himself gasping for breath in the outside world. Sweat poured down his face as he watched the flames lick the night sky, the cries of the tormented entity drowned out by the crackling of the inferno. He stood there, trembling and breathless, knowing that he had narrowly escaped the clutches of a presence that defied understanding. The house, once his sanctuary, now lay in ruins, reduced to nothing more than ashes and memories. But even as he gazed upon the smoldering remnants of his former home, he couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness still lingered, waiting patiently for another opportunity to consume him. And so, as he walked away, he carried with him the weight of the horrors he had faced, forever haunted by the knowledge that evil could lurk in the most unsuspecting places. The scars etched into his soul would serve as a constant reminder of the night he confronted the unknown. But the story doesn't truly end there. Over the years, whispers would circulate among the townsfolk, tales of a house consumed by flames and the eerie presence that once resided within. Some would claim to have seen shadows dancing in the ruins, while others swore they heard distant whispers carried on the wind. John, now a mere shell of his former self, would often find himself awake in the dead of night, plagued by nightmares and the lingering presence of that malevolent figure. The horrors of that fateful night would forever haunt his dreams, a chilling reminder of the darkness that exists just beyond the veil of perception. To this day, he lives in a constant state of fear, forever wary of the unexplained sounds that echo through the night and the sinister figures that may lurk in the shadows. For in the deepest recesses of his mind, he knows that there are forces in this world that cannot be comprehended, that sometimes the most terrifying things are the ones we cannot see. And so, the story of the person in his house continues, a chilling legend whispered among those who dare to listen. The house stands as a solemn reminder that sometimes, the most horrifying terrors lie not in the monsters under the bed, but in the depths of our own fears.